Good afternoon, everybody. This is Robin Carter with Robin's Creations out of Flower Mound, Texas. I'm back with my next set of alternates for the Celebrating in Color Paper Pumpkin from May 2022. So I hope you've enjoyed my first video. If you missed that, this is what I created as alternates for that video. They are in my protective sleeves, so they might be a little shiny. So if you missed that, go check that out. Thank you to those of you who are subscribers to my channel. And if you are new to my channel, I would really appreciate you subscribing by hitting the subscribe button below. Also, always check my comments and links to my blog site and other promotions that may be going on by Stampin' Up. When you look at the descriptions, there's also a show more button, so you click that to see all the way to the end. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and let's get started with these alternates. So these are the two alternates I've created using the paper pumpkin kit. So I'm going to start with this one. Okay, the items you'll need to make this alternate is this panel from the kit, the card base that has the wavy edge from the kit. You will need a piece of Starry Sky that's 3 1/4 by 5 1/2, and a piece of white that's 3 by 5 1/2. So this card is intended to go on here just like this. So what I did was I cut it in half at 2.75. So I still have the other half of my first one, so I'm going to use it to make this alternate with you. Okay, so the next thing I do is I always love to use my Stamparatus when I'm going to stamp. That way, if I don't get a crisp image, I can repeat it. So if you recall, the tips I have for you is not to try to stamp here at the very bottom. It's always line it up here, and then you have more room. Don't have to worry about the hinge getting in the way. So I had this set up for another card, so I just need to take it off. And then I'll show you why I love the deluxe mat. So I want to leave a little bit of space for an why you're happy is what this would show. And so I know about, that might be a little tight. Let's leave a little more room. Okay, so now you can pick up the stamp. And I'm going to remove my paper, and I'm going to use the basic gray that came in our kit. And I should have a stamp set here. I could help make the plate flat. And I'm going to stamp. So that way I can see, is my stamp lined up straight? And it actually looks like it's pretty straight. Just a little below that line on all the letters. And so my other tip is, rather than gunk up my chamois with a bunch of ink, I take a damp paper towel to get most of the ink, and then I finish cleaning it with my chamois. Okay, so I didn't clean the mat. Clean your mat. Oops, that might have wobbled the camera. All right, let's stick this in here. I'm going to put the magnet down, and I'm going to stamp with my Starry Sky. Now, I have the full-size pad, but on the Stamparatus, I really like to use my ink spots. It just makes it a little less controlled ink, and I don't get it all over my plate. So I'm going to ink that up well. It should be nice and juicy. I just made those yesterday. All right. I always sit here and hold just to make sure the ink soaks into the paper well. Okay, that looks good. I've got a little hair or feather, so you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to flip this over and do it again, and hopefully I got rid of that hair on the stamp. All right, so let's try that again. it looks a little wet. That's what I get for having to redo it. Let's ink that. Okay. Santa happy. Okay, much better. There's not a little hairline of ink. So I'm just going to clean my stamp. Okay, and that's the bulk of the stamping I do with my Stamparatus. Now, if you wanted to put the sentiment on right below it, you could as well. I'm going to do that on a separate label and then do my inking around it that I like to do to make it stand out. So we have this, and we have our piece of paper. So I'm simply going to glue this at the very top, and it does come, you do need to trim it a little bit, and that's okay because that's mostly just white. So I'm going to get out my trimmer. And it doesn't matter the dimension, it just matters where your sentiment is. So that's about, make sure I'm in the, it's about 3/8 of an inch. Oh, up here are my, that's centimeters. Well, they're both there. Let's try 3/8 of an inch. So that's 1, 2, 3. And then let's see. Probably to err on the short side, that's pretty perfect. That way you could trim a little more versus trimming too much. Okay, that should be all the cutting. All right, now you simply just want to adhere this to your white panel, and I'm going to use my Tombow multi-purpose glue, the one with the green lid that I put into my fine tip bottle, just so I don't get too much glue. All right. And I like the Tombow glue, as I always say, because I have wiggle room to kind of get it in the center. And then I just kind of gently tap on my desk to make sure it's flush with the end. Then you want to give your glue just a light rub to help smear the glue all around. Okay, and now I'm going to adhere this to my Starry Sky layering piece. There's my, I don't know if you may not have seen it, but this was the little hair that why I restamped it. Okay, this alternate is pretty easy. And again, I use my Tombow so that I have a little wiggle room. I got some of my fingers are sticky. Okay, so the other thing I did, which I didn't trim ahead of time, is I wanted this ruffled edge to show out more. So I put a thin strip of Starry Sky cardstock there, and I need to measure it because I didn't pre-cut it. It's probably 3/4 of an inch. So let me grab some of my cardstock. That's good. I have a little scrap piece here, so I'll use it. And I trimmer back out again. And I want to cut this at 3/4 of an inch. So, all right, there we go. All right, so I want to glue this on the inside of my card. I'm going to use my Tombow again. This one, I might have to run off the edge of the table to pick it up. Okay, and I'm going to put this on the edge. And I'm going to hit it, tap it to make sure it's flush. And that's actually a pretty equal strip. So if you have any hang off, if it's a hair longer, I would simply then just take my snips and trim off the edge. So see, now that little wiggle shows up better. All right, so I have a tip for you, more ribbon saving technique. So this is the Starry Sky, what's it called again? Metallic woven ribbon. And so what I do for it is I use a bottle. And I find a bottle that's big enough. And one way you can do it is like run that around, and that is plenty of room. So I'm going to use my Tombow glue. And this one I just did a knot. So I love tying ribbon on video. It seems to never work. So I don't even cut my ribbon off the spool. I start here, and this allows me to be able to pull tightly without worry about ripping my paper or bending my paper. Just around like that, and kind of manipulate where you want your top piece to be. Okay, so that's my bow. Then you take it off the bottle, and I hope this is, it should be big enough. And then I get my snips, and then you cut down. I want this one in the center, so I just pull and cut it in the center, and now I can cut it off my spool. So the trick is just to remember which one is the tie and which one goes around your card. And as you know, that was a tight fit, but it's going to work. I like to use Scotch tape to hold this back. All right, and then I want this end. Same thing. So it not only saves your ribbon, but it helps me get a better bow or knot, as this case may be. And I want to fray the edge. I like that look with this ribbon because it frays pretty easily, so you wouldn't want one frayed and not frayed. So there's our ribbon. Now I want to put this up on dimensionals to give it a little dimension, for lack of a better word. And I do have some non-stick scissors. Did I get my cord in the way? To cut these in half. So I just cut them right in half. And you know to use the edges too. I just started another row. So I always put some in the center, or not in the center, the corners. And then for a big piece like this, I either go center on each side. Sometimes I would put more, but I think that's enough. Take the backings off. Okay. And sort of in the center, I want to leave kind of equal space of the white. And then I think I did pretty good getting it lined up. All right, and the last thing to do is do a sentiment, and I don't, you could do gray, although I don't like that. I'm going to do a starry sky one. And I have a strip. Nope, that's from the leftover cut piece. Here it is. I have one cut already to celebrate your day. Now this one I flagged the ends. I may do the same. So I just manually do it. This one's going to have a teeny flag because not a lot of room. So just snip it in the center, and then I go corner to center to get my flag. All right, I'm going to take my starry sky, and I have these sponges. Now, I don't know why. Yesterday it was really losing some of its particles. So you could use a sponge dauber. These are no longer, they retired a couple years ago. One came in a paper pumpkin last year, I think, and it was a big round thing, and I cut them into fifths or sixths or as many as you want to go. All right, and I like to do that on this label so it sticks out a little more. But since it's already on dimensions, I'm going to glue it straight down. Okay, so if you wanted to use this alternate, you could make 4 cards because you get 2 full pieces of this, and I cut them in half. Okay, so there's, oh, I did add some embellishments, but I'll do that later. So here is my 3rd alternate for the May kit. Let me put all this away, and let's get out the 2nd alternate, or technically the 4th from my YouTube channel. So for this alternate, I use the envelope paper and coordinating cardstock to mat it. And hopefully I have all the pieces left done. So this is what I still have left of the 5 envelopes. And here's what I pre-cut, so I didn't have to do a lot of cutting to save time on the video today. So you should have 1 strip of each of the envelopes, and I cut them. Let me get one that shows up well. I cut it, well, this way, something like that, where there's a lot of white, a lot of contrast, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But each of these is 3/4 of an inch by 4/8 of an inch, so 5 of those. And your matting pieces are 1 inch by 4/8 of an inch. Okay, so now all I have to do is match them up. The ones that are hard are the Starry Sky and the Orchid Oasis. They're kind of close. Whoops. All right, so I'm just going to take a little time to glue these on the card or on the matting pieces. And these are both 4/8 of an inch, 4 1/8 of an inch long, so they'll go end to end. There we go. This is Tahitian Tide. Oops. In the center. Parakeet Party. I think yesterday my friend told me I called it peacock, but it's parakeet, another bird. Everything gets new names. Like I think in the first video I also called it my big shot, and it's not a big shot, it's a die cut and emboss machine. And I really do like the Stampin' Up! One that folds up and cuts nicely. Okay, so there is our 5 strips. So since these were pretty close in color, I wanted to separate them. And the other thing I did was I took the white end and I alternated it. So if I put the dark end, light end, and I think that really made it pop, switching the ends. And since I didn't use the best wishes that was part of this card, I thought that would be a good use of the best wishes sentiment. Should be in this envelope. All right, so let me get a card base and we'll put that together. Okay, so I have some pre-cut scored and cut over in my bin. All right, so we need our Tombow again. I am going to get a piece of, here's a tip to help you get it centered, of grid sheet. And this is a vertical card. And again, I feel to see which end, a little glue gunk. And this end appears a hair larger, so I'm going to put it here. I'm going to put this on my grid sheet, and it doesn't matter where you center it. So I'm going to have 1/4 of an 1/8 inch off here and 1/4 of an 1/8 inch off here. So 3.5 is the center point. So I take the one I want in the center, get my glue. You know what, we'll alternate this one. We'll do this one with the dark piece up in the center. So then I can use my grid paper, can you see that? And get it right in between. And there will be a little white border since we cut it to 4 1/8. Okay, and the next thing I do are my ends. Okay, so this will be the dark side up. And I just do it where there's an equal border around the ends. Did I get my head in the video? All right, and then this end. This will be dark end up since we're flipping it. Okay, and then I'm left with just to put these in the center. Oop, I want to flip this one like that. And before I glue this out, I'm going to show you. So that's what it would look like if you like them all going one direction. But I like to flip the light and the dark. Thought that really made it pop. Okay, so since we didn't use these, I thought this might be a good chance to use the best wishes. If you wanted to use another sentiment of any stamps you may have in your stash. This is from the Biggest Wish stamp set. And I use the Parakeet Party for the happy and the Starry Sky for the background. But I want to add a little ribbon or something and put this on dimensionals. So let's get the dimensionals out. That's a big piece, but that's okay. So I'm going to show you, I do use the sides. Just put another smaller piece here and a smaller piece to hold up the center. All right, so I like to do that and then say, see where I want to put my ribbon and what color I want to use. So each of the end colors comes in this, and my other two are over there. I wonder about the Orchid Oasis. I think that's a pretty color. So the hard part with this sentiment is knowing where to put it. And you could just tie a knot and put it on your card or a bow. Let's see if I like that. You can see it's pretty easy to tie. No, I don't like that. I'm going to do my other ribbon saving technique where I put a little off the side. So I'm just going to snip this. And I'm going to tape this on the back. That's a little large. Make it another piece, a smaller piece. There, that'll fit across here. My dimensional is in the way. And another piece. So you can see I only used like 2 inches on this whole of ribbon. Another large piece of tape. All right, fray the ends. Those are kind of already frayed. And I think that's going to be it, plus some bling. I always do bling. But that way we've used an element from the kit. So you could make lots of these because this was 2 and I still have a whole nother set of envelopes plus the remainder of that. All right, so I can use the actual pieces to get it kind of in the center. All right, so this was the Orchid Oasis ribbon that I used on this card. Okay, whoops, I got it off camera. So this is my 4th alternate for this kit. Here's using a different element. And I gave you some tips of tying your bows and whatnot. So I hope you enjoyed these alternates. So far I'm up to 4. I have this one that I showed in my previous video, this one, and then these. All right, that's it for me today. Be sure to subscribe in case I come up with any other alternates, which I hope to do over the weekend. And thanks for joining me today. I hope this gives you some inspiration how to expand your kit more than just what it calls for. Look forward to the next video. Thanks for joining. Bye-bye.